Welcome to the kitchen. Today I'm going to be doing a chili. Chili is a great cold weather dish. It really is, and it's cold in North Carolina today. It's in the 30s outside, and that's pretty cold for North Carolina. Down in the 20s at night. So today I'm going to be making this chili. Now, basically, I make three kinds of chili. I make what I call a a no burn chili, which has no hot spices in it whatsoever. Then I make what I call a mild burn chili, and that chili it's medium spicy. It's not terrible, but and most people can tolerate it. And then I make a firehouse chili, and the firehouse chili. Now I'm telling you, you better have some water and and some good bread because it flat has a burn to it. But today I'm going to be doing a mild chili. And the mild chili is, prep work takes about 30 minutes. Then you want to cook it for 2 to 2.5 hours to really get the simmer in it, to really get everything in it that works out just like you want it. And there's a lot of ingredients in my chili. In this particular chili today, there's going to be about 20 ingredients in it. And some of the things that I use and the spices that I use really make the chili come alive. And one of the great things about chili, it's just as good tomorrow as it was today. In fact, some would say it's even better heated up than it is when you first make it. So right now what I'm doing, I've already chopped a whole red onion and have got that in there. I didn't catch that on camera because like tears were like streaming from my face. Red onions are very strong, and I didn't want to be on camera with tears streaming from my face. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt this down here so you can see what's going on. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut up some peppers. Now I use a red pepper and a yellow pepper. And what you want to do with these, and I've already done it, but what you want to do with these is simply core them, get the core out, and then you can just tear them apart, and then you can take out all the seeds. I generally tend to get rid of the loose parts of the ribs that are inside. I don't know why, I just do, you don't have to. But when you're doing chili, and especially when you're going to do a slow cooked chili, you don't want your pieces to be really fine. You want them to be a little bit chunky. And the reason for that, and I'll just go ahead and get started with this, and the reason that you want your pieces to be chunky is because you want them to maintain their texture so that when you remove, when you start getting the chili is done, then you still got a very nice texture to your peppers. Now, why a red and a yellow pepper? Well, different colored peppers have a little different taste, and I'm just going to throw these over here with my onions. And the red pepper tends to be a bit sweeter, but the yellow pepper tends to have a little fuller flavor. So when you mix the two, then you're given a couple of different flavors. I don't use green peppers in this because to me the green pepper throws off the taste profile. So I just don't do that. And as you can see, I'm just chunking this up. I'm not dicing it. I'm not using a food processor. I'm not, doing really small pieces. I want everything to be nice and chunky, so that it maintains its consistency. And by maintaining its consistency, I mean when you're done with it and you're getting it out of the pot, then it's not just a bunch of mush. It actually still has some consistency to it. Now, there's always going to be little small pieces, and that's fine. That's a real, I don't want that. And that's fine. Whoops, boy, that thing went away from there, didn't it? But you're always going to have the smaller pieces, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. They'll kind of go mush, but you won't really notice it. Yeah. The red pepper also gives a little color. Makes it look a little better. Now, you could dice these things up if you wanted to, but you're going to lose some of the crunchiness in it, and I like for my chili to have a little bit of that crunchiness maintained. And they're going to separate some also, and you can tear these up, it doesn't matter, but they're going to separate a little bit also in the cooking. It's always easier to cut a pepper with the rib up. It just goes right through it. I'll throw that. Now, how big a chunks you get from your peppers is entirely up to you. You can use the big chunks like I do, and I also throw little smaller chunks in there to take care of that. Okay. All right. So that's the peppers chopped up, and I've got them in a bowl. I've got my onions and my peppers all in the same bowl because it's all going to be cooked at the same time. That's actually going to be cooked first. So we're gonna kind of switch stations here and go over this way as we prepare the next of our ingredients. Okay, now here we are. We're over at another area of the kitchen, and this right here, and I'm using a tablet to record this on. This right here are all my other ingredients I'm going to use. I have, of course, olive oil. I use olive oil. Anytime I need oil, I use olive oil. I don't use the corn oil or peanut oil or anything. That I always use olive oil. And then we've got chili powder. We've got ground cumin, oregano, tomato paste. We've got 36 ounces of diced tomatoes. And we have 2 cans of beans. I've got chili beans, which are spicy, and then I've got just the regular pinto beans. And all of this are the ingredients of the chili. Now, of course, I've got the hamburgers in there. As you can see over here, we'll just kind of pan around over here to the stove. I've got a Dutch oven. And this is pretty decent size. I don't know exactly what size it is. As you can see, it's deformed. I actually dropped this thing last week, and it bent. Maybe one of these days I can get some really quality cookware. But anyway, so we're going to begin. And I know there's a light behind my head, makes it hard to see. Sorry about that, but I don't have a studio. This is my home. And so we're going to get started now with doing the other things that we need to do. So let's get going. Okay, what I've done now is I've opened all my cans. I'll let you take a look at that. And you'll notice when I open my cans, you'll notice that I leave these lids attached. And I do that because it makes it easier to deal with the can, and then I can just take the lid off and don't have to stick my fingers in there. These edges around these things are very, very sharp, and they will cut you. They will cut you in a heartbeat. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the amount of spices that we need, and go ahead and combine those so that those are done. And then when we're ready for them, all we have to do is dump them in the pan. We don't have to worry about measuring it out. Okay, I've joined my spices together. Now, the spices that I have here, I have 1/4 cup of ground cumin, 1 tablespoon of oregano, and 1 tablespoon of, no, that's it. Okay, that's on me. So that's what I've got. I've got that here in the bowl. And so that's ready to be dumped in there. Now you can adjust these spices for what the taste that you want. Chili is individual as the person that's making it. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to get out our meat. Now we're going to be using ground chuck. I find that's the best type of ground meat to use. You can use anything. You can use regular hamburger or about anything else, but I like to use ground chuck. So that's what I'm going to be using. I've got a little over 1 pound of it. And I've also got about 8 ounces of smoked sausage that I'm also going to put in it. Now, a lot of people don't do that. I do. It gives it an extra flavor and a little bit of different taste. So we'll get that out now, and we'll start with that. Okay, I've cut up my sausage, and what I've got is I've got about 10 ounces or so of smoked sausage that I'm using in this particular dish. I have used Italian sausage, um, which works out pretty good, but today I'm using the smoked sausage, and again, that gives it just a little different texture, a little different flavor when you put it along with the meat. Now, the first thing that we've got to do is to saute the vegetables. So, in order to do that, we're going to get our olive oil, get our Dutch oven on the stove, and get things ready to go. Okay, kind of change perspective just a little bit. We're going to get our vegetables ready, and you need about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now I use extra virgin olive oil, whatever brand you want to use is fine. And I have set my heat on my burner to medium. You don't want it really hot, because if you do, then you're going to scorch your vegetables. And then I'm just going to look at this, and I'm just going to pour a little bit in there, and just kind of running around a little bit. And the only thing we're trying to do with this oil is we're just trying to saute the vegetables. All right, so we're going to set that down, and we're going to let that set for just a minute. Like I said, we've already got our sausage cut up and all that kind of good stuff. And we're actually going to pulverize that sausage even a little more once we get it into the pan and get it going. But want to wait until your oil heats up. Now, a lot of people ask, how do you know when your oil is ready? Your oil is ready when it creates a sheen over the bottom of the pan. And you'll notice what a sheen is. The oil will lighten up a little bit. It'll become a little more fluid. You do not want the oil to smoke. If the oil starts smoking, then it's way too hot and you need to turn it back down. I run my stovetop on about between 5 and 6 to start out with these things. And I'll let the oil heat up for just a few minutes before I put it in, because I want to get a really good sizzle when I first put my oil in. All right, I've got my onions and my peppers thrown in there, and I'll just kind of tilt this up so you can just kind of see down in there. And it looks like quite a lot in there, but it'll cook down some, so it's really not going to be that much. So we're going to saute these for about 4 or 5 minutes, or until the onions become translucent. And what that means simply is that you can see through them. And we'll do that, and I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, I'm back, and what I wanted to show you here is that, I don't know if you can hear this or not, I'll be quiet for a minute. If you can hear that, that's the sizzle that you want when you're sauteing anything. Pan's not too hot, it's just the right temperature. And then what you do is you just continuously flip these around. Now you can also do this in a wok, and then dump it into your pan later. I just do it all in the same pan because it makes for less mess. And I'm one of these guys that likes less mess. So we're about halfway through with our sauteing now. And I said 4 minutes, but it could take 5, it could take 6, who knows. You saute until it's done, or until it's sauteed. And so we'll do that, and we'll be back. Okay, my vegetables are just about ready. Onions are getting pretty translucent, so that's getting about where I want it, and my peppers are losing a little bit of their color. When they start losing their color, especially the red ones, they'll start losing their color from the inside out. And when they do, that's a sign that it's time. Next thing we want to do is going to add our hamburger and our sausage. Then we're just going to cut that into the vegetables. Now, your pot's going to look really full when you put in the hamburger and the sausage. And keep in mind that depending on what cut of hamburger you're using, it's going to cook down. Now, I'm using an 85-25, and so that's going to cook down, and it'll be fine. And what I'm doing is I'm just mashing the hamburger. I'm kind of mashing up the sausage. I I don't want just whole bits of sausage, so I'm just kind of mashing it up. And then just do that. Just get that all mashed up so you don't have the whole bits of sausage in there. And then we just want to, turn it over. Turn it over, mix it in well with your vegetables, and we're going to do that until the hamburger's brown. All right. So we'll be back after that's done. Okay, now I'm going to do, while the hamburger and the sausage and the onions and all that are really cooking and getting their flavor, we're going to strain and wash the beans. Now, and what I do with these is I just put them into a colander. I'll let you see that. I just put them into a colander and over a pan, and just want to run them around a little bit like that. And then we're going to let those sit a few minutes. And then after that, the next thing I'm going to do with them, I'm actually going to put them in the sink. I'm going to run some cold water over them and wash them. And the reason for that is we don't want all that bean juice in our chili. The sauce in our chili and all that is going to make up its own juice. So we don't want all this in there. So that's what we're going to do with this. And then after that, we'll come back when the meat's ready. All right. Something else I didn't tell you. What I did off camera is I added 2 cloves of garlic to the vegetable mixture. You want to put this in there after your vegetables are sautéed. Then you want to take and put the garlic in there. And for this particular recipe, I'm using 2 cloves. And you put the garlic in there, and you just kind of stir it around until it becomes fragrant. All right. Once you can start smelling it really good, then it's done. You need to go ahead and put your meat. And so that's what I've done. I put the meat next, and that's still over here cooking, and it's going to be cooking for a few more minutes. Okay, our meat is ready. So what I'm going to do is I've got my colander, and I'm going to put my colander down in my sink, and then I'm going to bring the meat over, and I'll just kind of tilt this down so you can just kind of see us get that out of the way. Once the meat is brown, then use your colander. Now it's very important, don't wash this pan out. Okay, leave this pan as it is. If you want to set it back on the stove, you can. And then you just want to, and what we're doing is we're just draining the excess moisture, the excess fat from the meat. That's all we're doing. So we're just going to let that go for a couple of minutes, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we put the meat back in the pan. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to stir in our chili powder, our cumin, and our oregano. And then we're going to cook that over the same heat for about 2 minutes or so. And this just to get it all in there and get everything permeated and ready to go. All right, here we are back. Now I've put in my spices. Now, once you put in the spices, you want to continuously stir this for about 2 minutes. And the reason for that is you drained 80% of the moisture out of your mix. Now, this is where it gets that distinctive chili smell. It smells so good. But you don't want to let this sit, because if you do, it has a tendency to stick to the bottom of the pan. And you don't want that, because if you burn this in the pan, then, if you got a dog that likes burnt stuff, you can give it to them, because it's not going to be any good. All right, now, that's sauteing. That's coming up on its 2 minutes. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 4 ounces of tomato paste. Now, the reason that we're adding tomato paste is that it's going to give it a crusty texture. We want that because that will enhance the mix even more. And this is getting in my nose. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I did turn my head. So we're just going to put this in there. And when I say 4 ounces,
approximately 4 ounces. This is a 6-ounce can, so I'm going to pretty much use all of it. And then you want to stir that tomato paste all around in there. Get it good and mixed in. Don't want to see any clumps of your tomato paste. Just want to get it all good and mixed in there. Oops. Some on the edge there. Alright, so we're going to get that all mixed in there. And we're going to let that go for just, wow, I have made a mess. We're going to let that go for just a minute. Next thing that we're going to add is 1 can of beer. Okay? So we'll just add that in there. Now, what kind of beer you use doesn't matter. You know, they say light beer, regular beer, I don't care. Whatever your preference is. I prefer regular beer because it has more hops and a barley taste to it. Now, when you pour that cold beer in there, it's going to stop it from doing its boiling, but it won't take but just a few seconds for it to come back, so we're going to wait for that. We'll let that go. Okay, and I've just kept this running because the next couple steps are going to go pretty quick. What we want to do with this beer is we're going to bring this to a nice simmer. We'll just kind of let that sit for, it's not going to take long, just a few seconds to bring it to a nice simmer. Oh, that smells good. That smells good. Now, any of you that are not drinkers or you don't like alcohol, blah, 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 I've heard it all. You're cooking the alcohol out. There will be no alcohol content in this chili. All the alcohol will be cooked out. Okay. All right, that's at a simmer. We'll get that back to a simmer here. Get me a swallow of my sweet tea over here. Oh, that's good. Love sweet tea with lemon. Absolutely love it. Okay. That's at a good simmer. What we want to do now is add our tomatoes and our beans. Now, what I add on the diced tomatoes, I add 3 cans of diced tomatoes. And then I add my beans. Now we want to get all that stirred around. Get all that mixed up, and you have to be careful here because the pan is pretty darn full at this point. Okay. Get all that mixed around. Make sure that we've got all of our ingredients distributed nicely. We'll make sure that all of our ingredients are distributed nicely within the pan, within the pot. And now what we're going to do is we're going to let that come to a simmer. I actually like to clean up as I go. Just one of those kind of guys, I guess. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let that come to a good simmer. And it's going to take a few minutes for it to come to a simmer because you put in all the tomatoes and all that. And you see now why there was no need for beef stock. A lot of people add beef stock to their chili. Well, you don't need beef stock for this, and let me show you why. All right. Now, if you can see that, No, I'm not too good here, but if you can see that, you can see that there's plenty of juice in there. There's plenty of stock in there, and that's created by the beer and the juice from the tomatoes. So you don't need to put any kind of beef stock or anything else in it. Okay, what I've done now is let me get this back up here. Tell you, all right, let's move because of those lights over there. All right, that's better. What I've done now is I've got it on the stove and I'm bringing it to a nice simmer. I leave it at the same heat, which is medium high, in order to bring it to a simmer. And once I get it to a simmer, and once I get it really on a very, very low boil, then I'll turn my dial or I'll turn my stove all the way back to about 3. And everything there's going to be so hot that it'll continue to simmer. Now, we want to simmer this for 2 to 2.5 hours. You really can't simmer it too long, to be honest with you. If you want to go 2.5 hours, that'd be great. But simmer it for at least 2 hours. If you don't do that, you're not going to get the full taste out of it. Now, there are quick chilies all over the internet where chili in 15 minutes. Well, yeah, you can make chili in 15 minutes. I don't know how many people would want to eat it. But this will be ready in a couple of hours. I'll come back then. I will show you what the finished product looks like, and I'll also go back over the ingredients list so that you make sure you've got all the ingredients for it, okay? See you in a minute. Okay, I did forget to say one thing, and I just thought about it when I was going over there to the stove. After you bring your pot of chili to a simmer and turn it down, cover it. Go ahead and put a lid on it, cover it, and leave it covered the whole time it's cooking, with the exception of about every 15 to 20 minutes, you can come in and stir it, okay? That keeps everything stirred up. But other than that, keep it covered. Okay, now for the first 15 or 20 minutes that your chili is on the stove, you really need to keep a very good eye on it. Reason for that is as the chili gets hotter and as it heats up, it's going to boil. And so you don't want that. So you want to check on it about every 5 minutes or so for the first 15 or 20 minutes to make sure that you're simmering, not boiling. Now, for those of you that may not know, a simmer is a very, very, very low roll of a boil. You can still see a little bit of the boil going on, but it's not by any means popping and bubbling up and all that. You're going to have to reduce your heat over these 15 to 20 minutes, probably a couple of times to get it down to where you want it. I do this. A lot of people they'll just kick it on down to about 3 and go about their business. I don't do that. I like to gradually take it down. To me, it just makes the flavor of the finished product better. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just checking. I've already turned it down twice, and now I'm going to look at it again. And if I do have to turn it down again, it'll be the last time. And then I'll come back in about 15 or 20 minutes and give her a stir. Okay, I've got it simmering, and what I want to do now is I want to show you what a simmer is. And because some people, may not know what a simmer is, so I want to show you what that is. So I'm going to uncover it briefly here. And I'm just going to tilt this down and show that to you. That is a simmer. And my stove is set on 2. It's almost the lowest setting, but that's a simmer. That's what you want, and that's what you want it to do for 2 hours. All right. We'll check back on the finished product. Okay. We're getting close to being ready. I just want to give you another little tip while the chili is cooking. Yeah, I told you need to stir about every 15, 20 minutes or so through it's cooking. That's just kind of keep it agitated a little bit. Now, when I say stir, I mean gently stir. Okay, I prefer wooden utensils. That's mostly what I use, and they don't scratch my pans or anything like that. And they don't transfer heat as bad as some of the other ones do. But just give it a gentle stir, just a gentle toss. You don't want to be in there aggressive, stirring it and trying to blend it up, because if you do that, that's what's going to happen. You're going to really soften the vegetables, and they're not going to be very good. So just remember that, and it'll be done in a few minutes. We'll be right back. Okay, here it is. And I'm going to give her after I dump it on my computer, I'm going to give it a taste test here. Oh man, that's good. That's good. I actually think we'll let it cook a little longer, but that was good. All right. All right. So that is my mildly hot chili, and it is very good. I'm actually going to let it cook a little while longer. I think it'll be a little better. The ingredients, you need 2 teaspoons of olive oil, you need a large red onion, you need 1 red bell pepper, 1 yellow bell pepper, 4 cloves of garlic powder, not powder, 4 cloves of garlic. You need 1 pound of lean ground beef. I used about 1.25 pounds, 8 ounces of Italian sausage. I used about probably 10 or 11. Tablespoon of ground cumin, tablespoon of dried oregano, need 1 4-ounce can of tomato paste. I think I used 6. 1 12-ounce bottle of beer, 1 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes, 1 14-ounce can in addition to diced tomatoes, 1 15-ounce can of black beans drained and rinsed, 1 15-ounce can of kidney beans drained and rinsed, and then you just you add all that together as I did in the video, and it will turn out to be absolutely wonderful, and it will be even better tomorrow. So thanks for watching my video. I appreciate it. If you like this, you can hit the like button, which is down there, and if you have a comment, that'll be fine too. So until next time, thanks for watching.